Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. We only have one ranked versus ranked matchup this weekend. So in theory, you would think that week 6 is going to be pretty lackluster, pretty uneventful, especially in comparison to the first 5 weeks of the season. But we all know that's not how it works in the world of college football. It's weeks like these where the craziest things happen. So while it may not look that great on paper, this is still going to be a massive weekend in college football. And we're here to break down 5 of the biggest games of the week. Games that may be flying under the radar, but ones that you certainly do not want to miss. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. We're so glad you could join us today. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home of our expert picks, where we are going on quite the tear right now. 20-10 run over these last few weeks. Back-to-back weeks, we have hit 70% of our bets. We are currently beating out over 80% of the national handicappers, just like we have done each of the last 6 years. So if you want to get in on these winnings as the run continues to get bigger and bigger, better and better, this is the place for you. Go sign up. It's a full year-long subscription, so you're never too late. You get it for a full 365 days, and those prices haven't changed and aren't going to change. So go check it out. The link for that down in the description below. Go take advantage of it and become a member of our GE Nation, especially before our first picks for this week come out tomorrow. So do not miss out on that. So let's dive into these games, guys. Again, big week 6. Again, on paper, only one ranked versus ranked matchup, Missouri and Texas A&M. We will be breaking that game down for you tomorrow, along with one bonus game coming on Thursday. But these are some games that could play a major role in these conferences and for some of these teams in the playoff race. We start up top on Friday night, Syracuse at number 25, UNLV. I think the motto here is no Sluka, no problem, right? Matthew Sluka leaves the team unexpectedly over some NIL dispute. You know, two sides of that story there. We'll dive more into that on our live stream tomorrow night. But UNLV looked great last week without him, maybe even better without him, as Haj Malik Williams stepped in at quarterback and had 301 total yards. Was great through the air, extremely accurate, dangerous on the ground with his legs, more so than Sluka, in a 59-14 win over Fresno State. The Rebels are hungry, man. They are a team that was already on a mission, but maybe more so now after their starting quarterback left them in the dust. If they win this game, it will be their 3rd win this season over a Power 4 opponent. They've already beat Houston. They've already beat Kansas. But to win this game, they've got to stop the Syracuse passing attack led by Kyle McCord, who's thrown for over 1,400 yards and 14 touchdowns and averages over 370 passing yards per game. The Rebels' secondary hasn't been great, 226 passing yards per game is what they're giving up, but what they do very well is they create a lot of pressure and they create a lot of mistakes. UNLV has 13 sacks already this year. They have forced 9 interceptions already this season. McCord has thrown 4 interceptions in his last 2 games. The Syracuse defense hasn't been all that great this year. Kind of a surprise considering Fran Brown's a defensive-minded guy. This is a long road trip for the Orange against a motivated and good UNLV team. I like the Rebels in this game. I like the Rebels to get a win over the Orange and continue their quest of potentially making the college football playoff as the highest-ranked Group of 5 champion. They definitely can achieve that. Over in the Big Ten, I like this matchup a lot. Rutgers at Nebraska. I think this is a very underrated game. People aren't talking nearly enough about it. You've got an undefeated 4-0 Rutgers team taking on a 4-1 Nebraska team. Both teams that obviously have high expectations, want to win 7, 8, 9 games, contend in the Big Ten, which is hard to do with Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, guys like that. But obviously, we're just getting to a solid bowl game. And if Rutgers can win this game, there's a very good chance the Scarlet Knights could be 7-0 in the top 20 as they prepare to go on the road to USC on October 25th. Because if they win this game, they should be favored at home against Wisconsin and UCLA. Both those could be wins. You look at Nebraska, they can win this game. They'd be 5-1 before they go on back-to-back road trips against Indiana and Ohio State. So tough games there. They need this win to get that 5th win because as we've seen before, Nebraska has been close to the postseason, hasn't gotten over the hump. A loss here at home would probably not prevent them from going to the bowl game. They could probably get a couple more later, but would definitely hurt their chances a little bit. It's a battle of styles here. Rutgers wants to run the ball. They average over 237 rushing yards per game. Kyle Monangai is one of the best running backs in the country, has already rushed for 589 yards and 6 touchdowns. Nebraska, though, only gives up 85 rushing yards per game. So will Rutgers be able to run against this Nebraska defensive front? Conversely, Nebraska has a star quarterback in Dylan Raiola. They average over 258 passing yards per game. The Rutgers secondary is only giving up 179 passing yards per game. So the two strengths for these teams, Rutgers' run game, Nebraska's pass game, are going up against some of the stiffest tests they've seen all year. I expect this game to be relatively low scoring, but in the end, I got to go with Nebraska. I don't have faith in Rutgers winning this game through the air with Ethan Kaliak-Manis, who, yes, has improved, no doubt about it, but I don't think he can win this game by himself if the run game gets shut down, especially on the road. Nebraska improves to 5-1 and hands Rutgers their first loss of the season. Over in the ACC, number 15, Clemson and Florida State. Look, I mean, this was a game that typically, was always one of the biggest games on the ACC slate. This year, maybe not so much due to the struggles that Florida State is going through. The Seminoles now 1-4 on the year. But look, it's a night game in Tallahassee against a Clemson team that has absolutely improved over the last few weeks, but some would say how much. They beat App State, they beat a freshman quarterback in NC State, and they beat a subpar Stanford team. So all of those at home, by the way. So how good is Clemson really? The question now is, does DJ Uyunglele play for Florida State, battling an injury there, or do they finally make that quarterback change if he's not good to go and give it to Brock Glenn, who maybe won't be that much better, but maybe could spark a little bit of life in this offense? The problem is, even if they put Brock Glenn in, I don't think they're going to be able to put up enough points against Clemson to win this game. The Seminoles are 125th in the nation in total offense, averaging just 291 yards per game. They only average 98 rushing yards per game. They've allowed 12 sacks already this season. The Clemson defense, hasn't been great. They're giving up over 400 yards per game this year. Gave up 236 rushing yards to Stanford, 183 to NC State, 149 to App State. But I don't think this Florida State offensive line is going to be able to create opportunities for their run game. I don't think they're going to be able to create opportunities for their quarterback, who will constantly be under pressure. This Clemson offense, meanwhile, has woken up significantly. They're averaging over 278 passing yards per game with Cade Klubnik. Florida State won't be able to stop that. They won't be able to stop the Clemson run game that's been great with Phil Maffa and is now going up against a Florida State defensive line that's given up over 190 rushing yards per game. The upset pick is there. I think it's a trendy upset pick for some, but the Tigers will win big here. They will win this game by at least double digits. I think by at least 2 touchdowns. I think they're going to look the way they have in the last 3 games, which has been very dominant, very complete. Florida State loses another game at home and drops to 1-5 in 2024, which is absolutely unbelievable. No one had that on their bingo card. Go over down to Big Ten country again. Number 10, Michigan at Washington, the rematch. The national championship rematch here, and I am excited for this game. The funny thing is, we're going to hype this up as a national championship rematch, and it is. Historically, it is. But there's nobody there for either team that can relate to what happened in last year's national championship game. Both these teams have new coaches. They've got new quarterbacks. They've got just practically entirely different and new teams than what we saw back in January. Michigan, of course, winning that game 34-13. The Wolverines have been a quite the anomaly this year. They're trying to figure things out. Maybe they found their life and figured it all out when they beat USC just a few weeks ago. They got that win, then they were dominating Minnesota before they allowed the Golden Gophers to have that little late rally there. The run game is looking great. Kalel Mullings is leading the way with over 500 yards, averaging over 195 rushing yards per game as a team, and they're going to continue to lean on that ground game, especially with the dual threat capability of Alex Orji. Michigan has won their last 2 games by throwing for less than 100 yards. That counts for something. That shows that they have faith in their line. Shows they have faith in their ability to run the ball. The question is, can Washington do that, or can Michigan do that against a Washington defense that's giving up just 121.8 rushing yards per game? However, in their 2 losses, has struggled to stop the run. They allowed 184 to Rutgers last week. They allowed 136 to Washington State. That's a question mark here. Their 2 games they've lost, they could not stop the run, and now they're facing one of the best rushing teams in the country in Michigan. Washington, the thing for them is they were outgained significantly in both, they outgained their opponent significantly in those 2 losses. It's their mistakes that has ultimately cost them. You look at the Rutgers game last week, they absolutely destroyed Rutgers when it came to yardage. And Washington probably should have won this game. But they missed 3 field goals. They had 2 turnovers on downs, including 1 at the Rutgers 2-yard line. They could not get the ball in the end zone. Rutgers had that bend, don't break defense. And I think that's the same mentality for Michigan here. Allow the yards. Allow Will Rogers to put up a bunch of big plays through the air. Bend a little bit, but as long as you don't break, as long as you don't let them in the end zone, who cares how many yards the Huskies put up? The Huskies are averaging nearly 300 passing yards per game. Michigan's giving up nearly 250 passing yards per game. But I ultimately think that's what happens here. I think Michigan bends a little bit. They don't break. The defense comes up clutch when they need to, just like they did against USC. And I love the Trojans to come back in that game. But they do what they did against USC. They rely on the strength of their run game. Washington can't stop it. This is a trendy upset pick for some. Michigan actually a 3-point underdog. I'm taking them. They're going to beat Washington, although it will be close. And finally, number 8, Miami at California. The first time ever that College Game Day will be at Berkeley. And a lot of people are high on the Golden Bears here. They're thinking California can pull off an upset. They're excited for this game. And I guess if you want to use the argument that Miami didn't look good against Virginia Tech, then sure, maybe you pick Cal. Maybe you go with them as a trendy upset pick. But look, bottom line is Miami's still one of the best teams in the country. Even though they narrowly beat Virginia Tech, they still had over 500 yards of offense in that game, and they had that with an uncharacteristic game from Cam Ward, who was responsible for 3 turnovers. He was sacked and had a fumble. He threw 2 interceptions. Both those interceptions were inside the Virginia Tech 25-yard line. He doesn't throw those. Miami probably scores 2 touchdowns. They win by a lot more. There's no controversy. They even just get 2 field goals out of those interceptions, and it's not close at the end. So, you look at that. 3 bad interceptions from Cam Ward, which is uncharacteristic for him, and they still managed to win the game, still managed to put up 500 yards of offense. That is concerning if you're California, who, yes, has that road win against Auburn, but is that really saying much? The Tigers have struggled mightily this year, but also has a 14-9 road loss against Florida State, who, as we mentioned, is really, really bad this year. Miami's defense ranks 15th in the nation, giving up just 265 yards per game, only 93 rushing yards per game. I don't have faith in California's passing game to solely win this game through the air against this Miami defense. Miami struggles a little bit at first. It's close at first. The hype's there. The excitement's there for California. But in the end, Miami is going to wear them down. They are going to win this game by double digits, and they're once again going to show why they are the best team, as of right now, in the ACC. So there you go, guys. A big, big weekend. These are 5 games here. We're going to break down Missouri and A&M tomorrow. We've got 1 extra game coming your way on Thursday. Again, in terms of the, we look at it on paper, this isn't a great week in college football, but there's still a lot of opportunities for upsets, a lot of opportunities for crazy moments, a lot of opportunities for a crazy week, just like we've seen in the first 5 weeks of the season. Do not underestimate the lackluster weekends like we have in Week 6. Anything can happen in college football, and as always, you should always assume nothing. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below. That includes these expert picks. We've got spread picks for the games right here. We've got a handful of other games that we're putting the spread picks out for. We're on a 20-10 run against the spread. We are beating out over 80% of the national handicappers. We're offering you the picks for one of the lowest prices in the country for a full 365 days. I mean, you're not going to find picks like this and offers like this anywhere else. So go check it out. The link for that down in the description below. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.